Okay, so I have this little setup, and let me first just point out none of these objects are connected, so let me just do some parenting. So I'm going to click this wheel, click that hull thingy, and set the parent. So now when this rotates, that does, and then set this to have this as a parent. So now they all rotate together. Let me move this up. Let me turn my, okay. So selection to cursor to center, and let me move these up a bit just to center it. And then I'm going to make an empty, rotate it, and set this parent, have the box be parented to this empty. So now I can move the empty, everything moves, or the box. Now the rotation's off on this because you want the origin to be right at that pivot point. So I'm selected that top face, cursor to selected. I'm going to go back into object mode, and you can do it, set origin here, or the shortcut, origin to 3D cursor. So now this pivots around that point. So we want this wheel to rotate when this empty moves. So first let me stretch it a bit so we can see how it's moving. You don't have to do that. So we're going to make a constraint for this wheel to be looking at the location of this empty, and we want it to be looking at its local space. Global space is this is the X, this is the Y, this is the Z. But because I rotated that empty, in its local coordinates, Z is this way, positive Z, positive X, positive Y. So whenever it goes on the positive Z in its local space, we want this wheel to rotate. So I'm going to add a constraint, and it's going to be a transformations constraint. Basically, it's going to look at the transformations of this empty and apply a different thing to that wheel. So the target is our empty, because that's what we're looking at, and we care about the location of the empty on its, well, we'll say local later, but we're going to say local Z axis. And these units are like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm guessing if we go 5 units on its positive Z, we'll want this to rotate about 180 degrees. So we'll say 5 units, and we will want, we're not looking at the destination being location, we want it to be rotation. So the location moves 5, we want it to rotate 180 degrees. But we're talking about the Z axis here and rotating it on the X. So here's the X axis, and that's the way we want it to rotate. So we need to say that we want the, so we're looking for the X axis rotation, right? So we want the Z of the source to map to the X of, now this is Z of the location mapping to the X of the rotation, but that's okay. And lastly, we want this to be local space. So now, what's going on? Let me pause it for a second. Okay, I think I figured it out. For some reason, the target got deleted. So there's the empty. What the? Okay, I think I figured it out again. I meant to put X here. Okay, let's see. Does it work? Yay. Okay, so it's working pretty well. So we're at 0 units, and then it starts to rotate to 5 and then freezes. So let's just get this, make sure it's just how we want it. I think it could rotate maybe a little faster. I noticed some slipping right there. So maybe it'll be like 200. So for every 5 units, that moves 200. That's close enough. So to get it to go to infinite, you have to hit extrapolate. So now it just goes this way. If I rotate, I'm rotating the empty now, but notice how wherever I rotate, ooh, so that is an interesting thing. It is interesting. It still works, but when it crosses that line, there's going to be some issues. So it might work for your needs just this way. I think the limitation is for this method you can't easily have him like rotate all the way around, because you'll see some slipping right there. That is odd. It's rotating. But if it's just moving forward, back with some slight turns, it should work. And the other limitation is because of this slipping, you can't have that follow a path either if the path is like curving around. Okay, I hope this helps, and I'll send another tutorial with some more advanced, basically some advanced constraints called drivers, which might actually be what you want, but it's mainly for like rigging cars and stuff.